Look at this aerial view of Santa Barbara. This long corridor stretching straight up from the beach into the downtown grid is State Street, a historic commercial hub that serves as the economic engine of the city. For years, the argument over how to revitalize struggling downtowns like this one has been stuck on a single point of friction, whether to prioritize cars or make the streets strictly for pedestrians. But adjusting traffic flow alone rarely rescues a declining local economy. To attract the external capital needed for growth, a commercial street must convince the public that it is an elite, premier destination worth visiting. One way to generate this prestige is through public appearances by high-profile locals. When someone like Oprah Winfrey spends an afternoon walking around downtown, or Kevin Costner is spotted grabbing lunch on a patio, it sends an immediate signal to consumers about the quality of the location. These high-profile visits create a halo effect, broadcasting to the rest of the world that this corridor is a highly desirable, secure place to be. That prestige generates the public curiosity that pulls people in from out of town. This prestige functions as an economic funnel. You start with celebrity attention, converting into physical foot traffic. Once that star power draws a global crowd, the city must use specific urban mechanics to capture their attention and extract economic value before they leave. While star sightings are excellent for pulling people onto the sidewalk, a celebrity encounter is fleeting and doesn't guarantee that tourists will stay on the street. To retain that foot traffic, planners use activity mapping. As you can see on this diagram, the strategy involves placing specific nodes of activity at calculated intervals, which effectively pulls pedestrians further down the block. This mapping relies on hiring professional street performers, like live singers and musicians, to generate a constant energy during the day. When you add elements like face painters for families, the atmosphere shifts toward a vibrant, curated spectacle. This environment actively keeps tourists on the street for longer periods. The more time they spend lingering in that atmosphere, the higher the probability they will make spontaneous purchases at local businesses. This reliance on tourist spectacles carries a major risk. Out-of-town foot traffic is highly seasonal, which leaves shops exposed to long, quiet dry spells. This graph illustrates the solution. That volatile, spiking line is tourist revenue. To survive the drops between those spikes, businesses need the stable foundation beneath it, provided by locals acting as the anchor tenants of the street's economy. Being an anchor tenant requires locals to commit to visiting a few times a year and intentionally mixing up where they spend their money to support a variety of businesses. It also relies on the trinket rule. Even tiny microtransactions, like buying a coffee or a small gift, provide the steady substance businesses need to stay open. Beyond spending, locals take on non-financial roles. They host their out-of-town friends downtown and serve as brand ambassadors on social media, maintaining the street's visibility. Without this deliberate local support acting as a financial bridge, the cafes and shops required to sustain the tourist months would go bankrupt during the off-season. All of this planning, the prestige, daytime performers, and the local spending, can be instantly neutralized by a single failure: a lack of pedestrian safety. Currently, the immediate threat comes from high-speed e-bikes. In densely packed pedestrian zones, these heavy, motorized frames function more like mopeds than traditional bicycles. This chart breaks down the necessary safety regulations. To protect pedestrians, e-bike access must be limited to the morning window between 9 a.m. and noon, and removed entirely during street festivals. For visitors using rental fleets, the city can enforce this by routing them onto alternative pathways. Because these rentals are tracked through IDs and credit cards, compliance is easier to manage. Heavily restricting micromobility and tracking tourist rentals will undoubtedly create friction for some visitors. However, restoring a safe, pedestrian-first environment provides the essential foundation for long-term economic growth. State Street survival proves that urban revitalization has moved beyond simple infrastructure projects. It relies on star power, curated street activities for retention, local pride for stability, and uncompromising safety rules to build a truly world-class destination.